I'll talk more about these screenshots tomorrow, but I don't feel like I managed to say enough in 10 minutes. It's not enough to try and explain how serious this election is. And I say this as someone who doesn't live in America. If I have to say it 100 times, I'll say it again. Knowing full well that countries like the UK, like provinces like the UK, countries like North America, and other countries can pretty much shift the entire balance of the world. People keep saying, wait, we all need to wake up. People keep saying Trump's words are getting twisted. By who? He says what he wants when he wants. Word for word, people will print his words. You're saying it's being twisted. In what manner is it being twisted? In which aspect is it being twisted? It's not being twisted. People say their problem with Kamala Harris is that she doesn't have her own children. You don't have your own children, so why are you talking? It's not married women with children who get to speak the most. In fact, those are the people they want to relegate the most, right next to single, child-free or childless or unmarried women. It's not going to help you if you get married because they won't protect you. Like I said, go and watch News Round on the BBC website. It's geared towards kids, but you can see these kids talking about voting for Trump when they can't even vote for anything. You can't even drive in America at that age. These are 14-year-olds and below. And like I said in my previous video, just go look at my previous video. I say people who vote for Trump and who support Trump, they all have a certain look, like pick-me's. Pick-me's have a certain look. Pick-me's may be conventionally attractive, conventionally beautiful. It's not about beauty. It's a certain dead look behind their eye. You can always tell if a woman is a pick-me or male-centered. The same way you can always tell if somebody's a Trump supporter or MAGA. You see these lifeless looks behind these people's eyes because they have consumed so much right-wing media that their brains have fried and they just parrot the same things. What does a 14-year-old know about women's rights? You aren't even a man yet, so what do you know about women's rights? Talking about some Kamala Harris talks too much about women's rights. The reason why men and boys are upset that things aren't appealing to them anymore is because it goes without saying. It goes without saying men have these rights, they have these freedoms to do these things to women and girls at free reign, right? With impunity. The very fact that there's an existence of somebody who even mentions that women should have the same rights or equitable rights makes them get upset because that means the focus isn't 100% on them. The reason why we didn't have to talk about men's rights is because men had rights by way of being human beings. We have not had a period in history where men as a whole were not considered human beings or considered 1/5 of a human being like women were in history. There's never been a time, never been a generation where a feminist movement has not existed. There's always been women who have gone against the grain. Always been women who have attacked men because men attacked them. If you look at the Bible, you believe in the Bible, if you believe in history, you'll see women in the Bible like Jael. She lured a man into a tent from an army that was attacking her people, and she nailed his head into the ground with a hammer, with a mallet. Women who've gone against the grain had always existed, and that's why the existence of pick-me's and male-centered women, patriarchy, princesses, right? Even I feel like we should start calling them something else because I think these terms are too soft for them based on the violence that they actually perpetuate against other women and girls. The existence of pick-me-shers, they're very, very vital to the smooth running of the patriarchy and patriarchal ideas. The reason why a man who's running for president can go around saying, oh, if I want a woman, I can grab her by the PUSSY. The reason why he can go out and say things like that is because he validates a lot of men who talk like that on a daily basis and think like that on a daily basis and act that way on a daily basis. They just need the correct amount of money to unlock that behavior in them to get away with it. He can get away with it. The average person cannot get away with it. That's why you see quite a few men who do these things in jail, but at the same time, they don't go to jail. Most of them end up being priests. Sometimes they're pillars of the community. Sometimes they're relatives of you. They'll be like, oh no, Uncle Joe would never do that. Don't you talk nasty about Uncle Joe. He would never do those things. Even though Uncle Joe has been the bane of your existence since you were like 4 years old. And now you're 40 and nothing has changed. You're going to look me in the eye as another woman and then you're going to tell me that you vote for someone who would let you die, who says you do not get to get rid of a life that isn't a life yet over your life while you are living. You have to lay down your life and sacrifice yourself at the altar of the patriarchy, giving birth to something you didn't want to give birth to. You have to labor for someone that was not in your plan. Like I was trying to say in the other video, they want to validate groups of men who want to give women and girls no other choice but to be with them. They want to force women and girls to be with them. They want to make it so hard for you to get a job and stay in that job, because they're going to make the workforce for you. They're going to make the workplace so toxic that you have no choice and no other option but to leave. You will not be able to make money for yourself because you cannot work in a toxic environment. They won't hire women because, oh, you'll get pregnant. So you'll have no money. Your parents are like, oh, you're a liability. You need to get out or get married. You'll have to unfortunately get married then to one of these unfortunate looking men, unfortunate looking boys who have never been taught or never taught themselves to see women and girls as human beings. They want to concentrate violence into each household, and it's up to men whether or not they want to share that violence with each other. And once all the women and girls are married off, they can gift each other their wives and girlfriends all the time. You want to abuse my wife? Go on then. And I'll abuse your wife in turn. All right, I'll give you my wife for Christmas. You can have my wife for Easter. That's what they want. They want you to be relegated to them. And if everything goes smoothly, they'll have more than one wife. They're already doing these things in places like Afghanistan. And men who are voting in America will have the audacity to be like, oh, you want things to go like Afghanistan? You guys want it to be like that. You're just not clever enough to pull it off yet. The Americans were the ones invading all these other countries. They haven't invaded themselves yet. Colonization is responsible for most of these things. And when men and boys have no incentive to live, and their incentive to live is women and girls, they start acting like this. They will vote against their own interests as long as it results in you getting 100% of the blame, 100% of the problems, and 0% of the freedom. I saw a trailer for the Dead Poets Society yesterday, and in it, Robin Williams' character, he says, why was language created? And one of the boys says, oh, to communicate. And then Robin Williams' character was like, no, to woo women. Your entire existence is built around women and girls as a whole, as existing. No wonder they act like this. These 14-year-olds who listen to their Trump supporter parents don't have girlfriends. They don't have access to girls the way they want to. These young men and these men of any age, they don't have access to women and girls the way they want to. And that is their driving force. Trump can get any woman he wants because he can literally just force himself on them. He can pay his way out of court because he's done it before. He's a literal convict, but you're still electing him. It's between him and a biracial woman. You do not want a female president. You do not want a brown woman or a black woman being in there. You don't want her being president, and that's completely within your prerogative. Just be honest about it, because there's no way you're going to look at somebody who has committed, if there's like 10 crimes in the USA, he's committed 9 of them and he's working on the 10th, and you still think he's better. You don't even need common sense to know who you should be voting for. It was disgusting watching that news run, I'm not gonna lie. He said that Puerto Rico is a floating pile of garbage. He said the Mexicans are coming to assault all the women and the children and whatnot. He's assaulted women and children. He talks about his own children wanted to F them and kiss them anytime he can get. I'm not paraphrasing. He said that. He said that about his daughter, that he wants to kiss her every chance he can get. Do you guys want to kiss your daughters? Is that it? Is that why you're voting for him? Because you agree with that? Meanwhile, you're making up things that happened to Kamala. You're making up things that she did. You're making up her past. You're making up things that she hasn't even said. You are not telling me anything she said. But do you know who we know who has said something? Do you know who we know? You know who has said something? Do you know who we can, if we search up on Google what he said, we can pull it up? Trump. I'm not even going to say it's a no-brainer. I know exactly why people are voting for this guy. It's not hilarious. It's not funny. It's not even laughable anymore. It's not laughable. It was never laughable. I'm just astounded. I'm honestly astounded, because there is a huge chance he could win tomorrow. And I won't even be surprised if he does. Even if he doesn't win, it's going to be very narrow. And if you look at this screenshot here, and I'll talk about these screenshots tomorrow, but it says men have a responsibility towards women. That's what men will say. They don't feel that way. They feel they have a responsibility over women. They don't feel like they have a responsibility to you. They have a responsibility over you. And they don't even talk about responsibility. What they want is ownership, control, and dominance. The world promised them that. Their mothers promised them that. Their fathers promised them that. Society promised them that. There's a reason why our teachers were nicer and friendlier to the boys over the girls who didn't even do anything. But then there's also a reason why they would sit those boys next to the girls, and those girls' education will go down the toilet while those boys excelled for no absolute reason. You guys had every opportunity to succeed, and you're turning around and blaming women and girls for doing well in education. Unfortunately, in most countries, it's not against the law for women and girls to go to school. So you will be competing with women and girls in the educational fields. You will be. You're turning around and vote for someone who is against women's rights, who wants to relegate women to the home and ensure they die in childbirth. And you're turning around and telling us you want to get married to women? That's an absolute lie. You don't want to get married to women. You don't want to love women at all. You want them to have no choice. We can ask the pick-me's, how do you navigate a world where the men you're voting alongside for the same person think it's a problem when people talk about your rights as a person, as a human being and a woman? How do you even begin to reconcile that? How do you do that? Once you watch that news round, you see those little girls, the way they're sitting there and parroting sentiments about Trump and saying, oh, we want a female president, but just not her. These are like 6-7-year-old girls. These are the girls they want to turn into child brides. These are kids who have been told to think this way by adults, by the adults in their lives. At least on the liberal side, parents are telling them to think for themselves. This is what happens when people think for you. Not confusing as to why racists support a racist person. You guys thought you ate. This was posted a while back when my sister sent this to me. We're going to see a lot more of this in the coming months. We're already seeing it. You'll be in the gym recording yourself. Guys will just come up to you, start interacting with you as if you're standing there made for them, as if you live and breathe to please them, like your eye candy or something. And then you have this, where you'll be sitting there, mind your business, you and your friends will be hanging out. Then these guys will just be like, it's my turn to take a pic of one of these women. And it's literally up to them on how they act towards you. And you'll be sitting there like, I don't even know this guy. In their minds, they're like, this is my opportunity to show them who is boss. This is my opportunity to intimidate a woman. The same way you go out with your friends, you're like, I'm feeling like a cinnamon bun. Let's go down to the shops and get a cinnamon bun. While you're going down to the shops with your friends to get a cinnamon bun, these men are linking up with their boys to go and harass women. You going to the shops for a cinnamon bun, you going to do maybe a painting class or like to a book club or something. Just as easily as you do that, this is as easily how they do this. On a whim, you're like, you know what, I'm feeling like a pizza. I'm going to order a pizza. This is the way they go out. You know what, I'm bored. I'm going to do this. I'm going to harass women. I'm going to objectify them, sexualize them, and I'm going to intimidate them, or at least attempt to intimidate them. No matter how tough you might think you are as a woman, I think I'm rather tough, to be honest. I don't know if I sound that way, but I try my best to operate on a tough level every single day. Not just so people can know they can't mess with me or whatnot. I'm not really thinking about other people in that manner. It's more of a sense, this is who I am. But even the toughest women out there, even the toughest people, they can feel scared sometimes, and people know that. Men know this especially. That's why they make it a pastime. That's why they make it a hobby, to try and make you feel scared. It's not just the selection, not only the fact that they're trying to do it in other Western countries. It doesn't matter how many years you are behind. They are trying to do it. They're trying to make women and girls more scared, and eventually we'll get to a place where we won't even have any bodily autonomy. They want to make sure that we're always scared. They want to make sure that we're always frightened of what's going on. And this is one of the ways they embolden boys and men to partake in it, to enable boys and men to be able to do things like this. And then when you talk about it, people will be like, oh, you guys are so hyperbolic. You guys are hysterical. You guys are just being annoying. You're being irritating. You just want attention. Stop demonizing boys. Stop demonizing men. Or men, all they want to do is protect and provide for you guys. And you guys are being very unappreciative. You guys are being very, very mean. That's what they always say. They're always saying that kind of crap to us, saying they were being unappreciative of information and protection we didn't ask for nor need. We didn't say we wanted it. We didn't say we appreciate nothing because we didn't even want anything from you in the first place. Imagine me, right, purposely not dating a man, and then him coming up to me and being like, but I want to date you though, and that's why I'm going to make your life a living hell. That doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense to most women, but we have to start making sense of it, because this is how they think. We don't know what his problem was. We don't know why he did this. We don't know his motivation, but we have to make peace with the idea that a lot of these men, this is how they want to portray their violence. We have to make peace with the idea that this is the way they're thinking. It may not make sense to us, but it makes complete and utter sense to them. I'll tag the lady down below. But as of now, this is how many people have seen it. This is all the likes. She says that she does not know him. And this is the thing. A lot of people have now come to terms with the fact that most of the abuse you'll face as a woman or a girl is from men and boys you know. But we have to keep reminding and remembering that it's also strangers that do these things. Like, it's not that we've forgotten, but we also need to remind ourselves that it literally doesn't matter how close or how far a man is from you. He will take the opportunity to do these things, and he will enjoy every second of it. Making you feel uncomfortable, making other women feel uncomfortable. It's something that they love to do. They love doing these things. It's one of their favorite things to do. And to turn around and have society defend them and enable them, and have society look at us and say that we asked for it in some manner, in some way. Pretty women asked for it because why were you looking so pretty? He's just attracted to you, just wanted to show you that he liked you. Or you're ugly anyway, I don't believe you. You would never want to do that. You know, as these guys who are in the public eye, they like to be saying, oh, if I was going to assault a woman, I wouldn't assault you. You're not even attractive. What makes you think a lot of men won't go for unattractive women just so they can assault them? Because they know people won't believe that they were assaulted. It doesn't matter about looks. Men just need to make sure that people don't forget that they're there. You're wondering why your boyfriend doesn't listen to you, why your husband doesn't listen to you. You've told him 100 times again, put your dishes in the sink. If you need me to wash them, you have to put them in the sink. I can't be going around I can't be going around the house into every room and be picking up your dishes all the time. Like, just put them in the sink. You're wondering why these guys don't believe us when we talk about the things that they do to us, because they don't want to ever be the ones being found out to be doing these things. You know, when they say not all men, they're not saying that it isn't all men. What they're trying to signal to you is that not all men are going to get away with these things, but most men are. They want to be a part of the men that get away with these things. When they say not all men, they're signaling that a lot more men are sneakier about it. Most of the abuse human beings face will never reach the light of day. A lot of us will never know about it, and that's just one of the sad things, the tragedies about like human existence. But when people do have the courage to come out and talk about these things, to put these men on blast and unblur their faces and actually put their faces out there so people know, especially women and girls, know the kind of people who are out there, they're saying that we're trying to alienate boys and men from our side. We don't need you on our side anymore. Like, look, I don't know what kind of feminist you are, what kind of womanist you are, whether you're for women's rights or not. You should be far past the idea that we need to get men to the side of liberation or women's rights and whatnot. They don't want to be here. They don't want to be there. They've signaled that. If you are in America, they've already signaled it to you. Most of them don't want to be on your side. And you shouldn't want them on your side anyway. I'm sorry. You know, foxes eat chickens, right? Imagine the chickens making a coalition with the foxes and expecting the foxes to make good. The foxes are going to be like, no, I need to eat some of you. If you want me on your side, I have to eat some of you. You know, a fox got to eat, innit? And you're going to be like, yeah, we'll sacrifice some of the chickens for the foxes just so you can have foxes on your side. No, you should be putting fox repellent out there. Fox poison, if that exists. Foxes got to go. So why is it different for us? This is why women choose the bed. This is why they chose the bed. This is why women are getting pew-pewed up. They're getting strapped. They're finding forms of weaponry to tackle this. This is why women don't want to leave their house. This is why girls are getting scared. This is why girls are getting detention for defending themselves, because boys in their classes are trying to intimidate them. If you tell these parents, I'm not my sweet little angel, he wouldn't do that. This is what your sweet little angels grow up into. So I'm just walking to work right now, and when I opened Twitter this morning, this is the discussion that was happening. Now this makes me laugh because it feels like the week I've had, or what I've seen this week, completely matches what I've seen online or what I'm going to see online. So a little window into my life right now. My mum's diet consists of a lot of fish, to be honest. My sister's a part-time pescatarian. My dad likes to eat like it's still 1980s Nigeria. Basically what I'm saying is that men like to eat and consume the labour of women, and they don't know how it's done, or they don't care how it's done. Long story short, my mum cooks a lot of fish. I eat fish on the occasion. I'm not going to behead someone if they don't make me fish. I don't know if that's conditioning, because fish is delicious, or maybe fish is just not one of my favourite meals, who knows. But the other day, my dad complained that my mum doesn't cook fish enough. Now, does my dad buy the fish? No. We have to get the fish from a certain place. It's not that easy to get to. My mum isn't a housewife. She's not a housewife. And even then, housewives don't always have the plentiful time that people think that they do. So if you saw these screenshots right now, just take a look at them. I'll post the rest later because there's a lot more. I can't remember if it's on this page. No, actually it's on the other page. When I made a post about Diwali, I told you when it comes to women's labour, you're going to get 1 of 5 responses. In this post, you're going to see about maybe 4 of them. There's the belittling, the devaluing, and the saying that they can do it better. So when it's the devaluing, they say it doesn't matter, it's not needed, it's not necessary. The belittling is because you're the one doing it or not doing it. And the saying they can do it better is them signalling they put you in a silent competition with other women. It's saying that they could do it better, but they're not going to. So it's a choice. If women have been proving that we're bad at these things inherently, why do men not scramble to be house husbands if it's that easy? That man was mentioning that as a single man with no kids, that he has an easier time cooking and cleaning. Men eat like shit. If a woman's not there to cook for him, doesn't mean you should cook for them. What am I trying to say in this video? Do not do anything. Just don't do anything, don't cook, don't clean. Because there's a screenshot somewhere, and I'll post it later, where a man is saying that, oh, these women, you know, they're just so anal about cleaning. And then there's another one that says that we just spend needless time picking up throw pillows and just decorating the house with things that don't need to be there. If people come over to visit and then people comment on how the house looks, why isn't your wife making the house look beautiful? Blah, blah, blah. On that Diwali post, which is on my second page, there's a screenshot of a man saying that, you know, women make everything beautiful. Men, when you see them living on their own, you see what their houses look like, what their studio apartments look like, and you're wondering, and people are like, oh, he needs a woman's touch. A woman's touch is dead, okay? They don't need you. If you're not seeing from these screenshots, I'll post other screenshots later and you see they won't need you then either. We have to understand that there's no amount of words that can try and convince them to see us as people, because they don't see us as people. They see you as appliances. I'll say it before, I'll say it again. Men don't get wives to respect them or love them. Wives are something for them to mock with other men, to belittle to other men, to make fun of, to play pranks on, to abuse, to project violence onto them. When they're frustrated, they can just hit her, and most likely women won't report their husbands hitting them. Wives are for them to offset labour onto, because they don't want to do the labour themselves. They want her to do it. If men are so much better at these things, why don't they do it? Why don't they pick up the brooms? They don't do it because they don't want to. They need something to complain about. So when you don't do it to their standards, they can say you don't put in effort like other people's wives do. Another window into my life. Whenever I cook for my dad, he doesn't really say anything. But do you think he eats the entire meal? Yes, he does. Same thing with my mum. That's why I try my best not to cook for anyone unless I know they're going to appreciate it. Not just because I want that thank you. I always ask people who eat my cooking, did you like it? So I know not to make it for you again if you do not like it. I do that for myself. I try new things when I eat. And if I don't like it, I don't make it for myself again. Do you know why? Because I don't like it. I made a post a while ago about a woman's husband who said that he wished that she would cook like her sister, and then she pretended to get meals from her sister to give him. Meanwhile, it was her cooking the entire time, and he was like, oh, this is so delicious, you should cook like this all the time. Meanwhile, it was her cooking. So what does that tell you about men? They can't even tell the difference. So we're supposed to be pretending as if these men really want wives and girlfriends. They want wives and girlfriends for certain things. They're always complaining, and they say women are the nags. When women stop talking, they come online, they come on Reddit, start begging other men to give them advice on how to get the wife to start talking again. These men are on a very, very short road to divorce. Look at the way they're talking about women, that we're full of it. These men don't want to pay for anything. So that's what I said that in another video, that men would rather his family live in a cardboard box as long as he can be the one who says he bought the cardboard box. They don't care if you guys get your house taken away, because he doesn't want you to be working and be the breadwinner, because then people will know you're the breadwinner. Because when you guys are asked who's the one who bought all these things, he'll either lie and say he did, like they do in Nigeria, or someone will have to admit that she's the breadwinner. He doesn't want to admit that because that is like a hit to his male ego. They don't like admitting anything, but then they have no problem denigrating you to the whole internet. You as a single childless man, of course you have less labour to do. This sentiment is popping up a lot more, especially the one at the bottom where this man is saying that women would rather work for corporate, and there's someone said something about a wage slave, that women are being wage slaves, they'd rather do that. The main word in that phrase is wage. Men don't give women a wage. Paying the bills for the house is something you're supposed to do because you live there. Paying for groceries is something you have to do because you also eat food every day, unless men are lying and they're just shoveling all the food in the house in their gobs for no reason, just to spite the rest of the family. Because if men can eat once a week, you guys aren't showing us that. They'll devalue what you do and compare it to them mowing the lawn every month or something. My dad does pretty much all the garden work in the house. Do you think he does it every day like my mum cooks? Nope, he doesn't. A lot of men are very blind to the labour women do, because women's invisible labour is the reason why men have been able to be successful and create a lot of things. And that's why they hate women who have it all, and they hate women who do it all. They hate women like Sierra, who still sings, who still acts, who is married with like 4 kids. I think they have 4 kids, 4 or 5 kids. They hate her because she's, her body's still banging. They hate her because she's pretty. They hate her that she's multi-talented. There's women like that who have it all. It's not just Sierra, but there's other women out there, not just celebrity women out either, who have it all, and these men don't want you to have anything. They'll drink all your labour, then turn around and say, the reason why they survived is because they're a man. They're a big, strong man, and they don't need anyone else to do anything for them. But if you take away that labour from them, then watch them start crying, because that's what they're daring us to do. Take it away, because apparently it doesn't matter. So take it away. Stop doing it. Like I said, stop cooking for them, stop cleaning for them, stop doing the housework, because apparently it doesn't matter. All we do is spend our time in IKEA buying furniture that they don't even like. We just buy throw pillows. That making the house pretty is unnecessary. But they're trying to pass laws to make women be denigrated to the home. Apparently a woman's work is needed, a mother's work is needed, a wife's work is needed. But when she does it, apparently you don't even like it. Shane here say yes, and raising kids upright is the most important job in the world. But according to this thread, it's easy. And as women say, if men really thought it was important and easy, they would be scrambling and fighting with us to do it. But they don't. What's more fun than denigrating women for likes? I'm sorry to women, to ladies and everyone who's attracted, I guess, to cisgender straight men, or who've had cisgender straight men hit on them. But I think we're going to have to say it again. We don't find men as attractive as they find us. I'm not sorry for saying that. I'm not remorseful. It's just the truth. Men have made it so. Like, it didn't used to be this way if you look at history, but they've made it so that women have to spend half their life looking good for men, otherwise men will feel the need to comment on our appearance and want that they still comment on your appearance whether you look good or not, it doesn't matter. But the thing is, they're like, okay, we give you compliments, so why don't you give us compliments? First of all, you look like you haven't washed since last week, and that's being generous. They wear the same tracksuit every single day. You guys are negotiating your rights to be able to not wash regularly, and that's not limited to or restricted to their arse cheeks. They don't brush their teeth. They're saying, oh, the women I've been with before don't mind that I don't brush my teeth. But I'm not other women, innit? Brush your teeth. No, it's a problem. They don't brush their hair. They don't want to get jobs. They don't look appealing. They don't act appealing. And they keep insulting us and being mean to us. So you'll forgive us while we hold off on the compliments because we don't have any for you. Every day we have to listen to men cry about how nobody finds them attractive, but they do nothing to make themselves attractive. Every single day women are hyper-focusing on one part of their body that's completely not normal, but then men, they get so much confidence from you complimenting them, and that's exactly the reason why they need you to compliment them, because if women aren't doing it, that means they're not validated. But if we do, they start getting big heads, they start getting an ego boost, and we all know what men do when they get an ego boost. We know what confident men do. We know what their whole shtick is. We know what feeds them and gives them power. We know what makes their head big. On average, if a woman compliments a man, she's not looking for anything more. You're brave if you do that, but I wouldn't recommend it. You can say something so harmless like, oh, I like that coat. You didn't compliment on him. You didn't even say it looks nice on him. You didn't even say it suits him, but he's going to take it as she wants to get on her knees and tie her hair back and suck my penis. That's what he's thinking. That's why they can hyper-focus on their own co-workers and murder them because she didn't talk to him. I'm not paraphrasing. I didn't make this up. It's a real story that happened this year. When you don't talk to them, when you don't say things to them, they get very, very upset. And when you do, and nothing comes from it, they get upset as well. I need people to be very, very honest. I need people to be very honest. And I need people to look at these screenshots because they know exactly what it is. They know the reasons why women don't compliment men. It's not just because we think they're ugly and unattractive, even though that's like 80% of the reason. It's tiring. You don't want to deal with what comes after that, because once you compliment a man, they think they can get you. And not only that, women who look as good as you, they think they're the top dog now. They think they actually look good. They're going to start feeling themselves, and that's going to embolden them. What do you think these men are going to do once you compliment them? What do these men think we think they're going to do after they compliment us or we compliment them? When that elderly man looks at you and says, smile, darling, when that middle-aged guy looks at you, even though you're young enough to be his daughter, he looks at you and starts trying to chat to you, even though his children are standing right next to him. How does that make you feel? We talk about it all the time. I've made videos about men talking to women in public, just coming up to us as if everything's supposed to be, a dating function or whatnot. Like, I'm glad that a lot of people who listen to my page talk about it, because we can be real with ourselves now. There's no reason to lie. I don't feel comfortable with it. I've never felt comfortable with it. I don't like it when guys approach me in public. I'm not going to lie about it, because it's me. I'm the body that's being approached. You are the body that's being approached. So you get to feel how you want to feel about it. It's not fair that men get to come online, just talk rubbish, but we can't even say the truth. Now, the men in these comments are being very disingenuous. First of all, we don't care what you like. We don't care what you want. And then, third of all, this is very sick and very pitiful and a very disgraceful thing to admit, that a mere compliment like your eyes are nice would send you into overdrive. That's very weird, and you are something different for admitting that. If you have such low self-esteem that you're admitting a woman saying your hat looks nice you're gonna think about that for the rest of your life. No woman wants to be with a man who thinks that way. Say thank you and move on. It's just a compliment. Even so, don't feel forced or pressured to give men compliments, because the kind of compliments they're giving us aren't even compliments. It's sexual harassment. Winding down your window in your friend's car and shouting at a teenage girl in her school uniform, nice boobs. It's not a compliment. Punching a woman in the face after you say, give me your number, she says, no thank you. That's not a compliment. Saying that you'll never go for a woman who's lower than a D cup, it's not a compliment. Saying, I would F you, it's not a compliment. In fact, that will send every single woman to the psych ward. That's a very scary thought, thinking that I'd want to be married to you, wanting to be with you in any manner. If this isn't proof that men think that they are God's gift to the world, I have no idea what else to tell you. In a world that tells women that we need labiaplasties, rhinoplasties, We need all manner of surgery to make ourselves look appealing to men who don't even wash their own bum holes every single day. That is the highest insult you could ever receive. And if you're a woman, I would not only feel disgusted, but I feel very insulted. You think my parents brought me into this wonderful world, at least it can be wonderful sometimes, for me to look like eye candy for some random groups of men at whim. You're a joke, man. And this is a joke thing. It's funny that you think we should care about all of this, that we should care about how many times in his life that a man gets complimented. If you don't go and find a hobby, nobody cares. Be a better person. Be a kind person. Because the thing is, women know how it goes. When women even look a man in the eye in public, they know that he will get ideas. He'll come up to us, yeah, you're my wife now. It's bad enough that they think we're here for them. And it's 10 times worse. They think we're not allowed to say anything about it. They act like women are always getting compliments and they ignore us being nice. We're even taking pity and telling them to decenter the need for women's attention. They act like they'll die if they don't get something from us. They'll be fine. They just pretend it has to be that way. Just don't listen to them. When men say things like this, what they're telling us is that everything we go through as women is not nearly as bad as them not being complimented. What they're telling us is that no matter what is happening to us as women, we should be doing things for them. We should be complimenting them. No matter what is done to us, no matter what happens, it doesn't negate the fact that we need to compliment men. What they're telling us is that complimenting them is the bridge between them hurting us, harming us, and then being kind to us. As if anything women or a group of women or a woman can do, as if there's anything we can do, any of us, to stop them from committing the crimes they so much love to commit. Trying to pry a crime a man wants to commit away from his hands is like trying to extract a tooth without anesthesia. There's no point to it. They know exactly the reasons why, because these conversations pop up every maybe couple of weeks. I say this often enough because there's a lot of conversations online that happen that I really, really hate because it's so dumb and we all know the answers. It's just that men need to always derail the conversation back to them. This among approaching women in public, the male friendships conversation where men are like, we don't need female friends. What are we going to do with female friends? Like they F their male friends. Conversation where men are like, women like men who have slept around, blah, blah, blah. I don't like these kinds of conversations. And I know for a fact a lot of women don't like them too. We need to understand there's no shame without something to be ashamed about. There's no shame without conditioning. And there's no shame. And there's no shame if the person who's supposed to feel ashamed is not feeling ashamed about what they did. There's no shame with these men. Everything they say goes. Everything they're feeling is valid. When it comes to women, you know, whenever they discuss us, we're always like these passive participants or passive beings in the equation. When a man says, why don't women just compliment us? What we're hearing when men say that as women is that we should bypass our boundaries just to make a man feel good. Men will say we're being ridiculous when we say things like this, but it's the truth. This is what you're saying. Because you will not look at this year with the bountiful, plentiful stories we have of women being murdered by men they know and don't know, men who work with them, men who live with them, being often assaulted, R-worded and harassed, and just coming off the back of an election where a man has made it clear he is not going to make women have an easy time. Do you want us to turn around and start opening our mouths to say that you are wearing a nice shirt and that your abs look great? Oh, and your fingernails look gross today. Oh my God, you must have washed them last year. Start acting blind when you see them, honestly. Stop making posts just praising men and their look. When men build abs, they build it for other men. And they build abs, they build muscle so they can more effectively hurt you. But while knowing things like this, men are always asking, what do women want? We want you to be normal. But seeing as that's such a stretch for a lot of men, you have to be cutthroat. Do not compliment them. Protect yourself. They do not need the ego boost. Men think they're the best thing since sliced cheese anyway. They don't need us to tell them that. It's just another control thing. They want to police what we say and how we say it. I do not think you look good. We do not think you look good at all. How can you compliment something you don't like? They have spent hundreds of years telling us that we're 3/5 of a human being. I think they can spend a couple of decades not being told that they look good because you actually don't. Trust me, you'll be fine. Welcome to church. Everybody turn your Bible to the chapter where Adam was a bitch. That's an insult to bitches, actually. Adam was a dog. He was a male dog. He was also a coward. People largely forget that in the Bible. They forget about it in church. They forget about it all the time. Because, you know, as men always like to mention Eve, the bad bee, we never talk about Adam. Do you know why? It's the same reason we never talk about men when they do things to women. We always blame women for things that are done to us. When men do things to women, we blame women. When men do things to men, we blame women. When women do things to help everyone, we're like, a man did it. And that's what happened to poor Eve. I once had a teacher, and he was a very good teacher. He made a point when he was teaching us about Adam and Eve in our English class. This was when I was 18 or 17, something like that. He said that Eve should have eaten an apple. And we don't even know if it's an apple. For the context of this video, all right, it's an apple, but in the Bible, it never actually specifies it's an apple. It's just the tree of life. And it had fruit. It doesn't specify what fruit it was. My teacher said that it was good that Eve actually ate it, because if she didn't, everyone would just be having babies and the whole world would just fill up. Or in most religions, they preach that, you know, babies are in heaven before they're born, right? If Eve did not eat that apple, right, the babies will still be in heaven. They weren't able to come down onto this earth. Obviously, we had ideas that the world was going to be better than this, but that is also a good point. If Eve didn't eat the apples, all the spirit babies will still be in heaven. They wouldn't be able to come down to earth. So Eve is, you know, the MVP of the story, and we're so mean to her for no reason. Like I said, the reason why we don't talk about Adam is because Adam is the perfect representation of how men have handled their masculinity and their humanity since the dawn of time. You can tell men are descended from Adam because of the way they operate. Eve was curious. Eve asked questions. Eve did not always do what Adam said. Eve went exploring. She was like, yeah, I'm about to explore. Don't have to bring you with me. It doesn't say so that well in the Bible, but it's giving that she was quite beautiful. She had it going on. I don't know if you've ever listened to Headsprung by LL Cool J, but that's how Adam was feeling when Eve came to town. Adam was just naming animals and then Eve came along. It says that God created her from his rib. That's another story for another day if we're talking about Lilith. But the reason why Eve was made from Adam's rib is so that she'd be more receptive and obedient, but we see how the story went. Let's get something out of the way as well. When Adam was caught eating from the fruit as well, God appeared and asked where Adam was. Did he ask for Eve? No. Do you know why? Because God told Adam not to eat from the tree of life. God didn't actually tell Eve to do that, or not to do that. This is a completely accurate representation of how men have handled being the quote-unquote heads of the household. Maybe in the past 100 years, we have been able to put two and two together. These men want to be called and referred to and praised as the head of the households, but they don't want any responsibility that comes with it. They don't want the responsibility when things go wrong, when people in the household are in trouble or have done something wrong. The very first opportunity he had to explain himself, he threw Eve under the bus. What does that sound like? It sounds like what men do to women today, in this day and age. It sounds like how they respond to a lot of things when women and men are in a situation. Men will go out of their way to involve women in their own situations, and yet they never take any accountability. And then that's how men have been able to spin things that women don't take accountability. Meanwhile, they're the ones who don't take accountability, and it's because of their great 100 million times great grandfather Adam, who basically gave men a reason to be mean to women for millennia. We're always talking about how Eve was this cunning B word, but there's Adam. Look at him. He looks like such a bitch in this picture. I need to stop saying that. He doesn't look like a bitch. This is an insult to bitches. He looks like such a whiny piss baby. He looks like a piss baby in this picture. Like, look at this painting, right? I had to give them Eve the nice hot pink bikini in this photo, otherwise, like, I don't know if I'll get banned or this video will get taken down. But yeah, she has the nice hot pink bikini that I scribbled on here with the baby pink lace trim. I had to give Adam like a lime green bikini. Lime green is one of my worst colors. I don't really like that color. I had to give him a bit of bikini because, you know, equal rights and all of that, equal fights and that. You know what men like to say, you know, if she has to wear bikini, he has to wear bikini too. Nobody wants to see your boobs either. And then you can see all the little floating baby heads and little cherub things, and I had to give them like onesies. And one of them has a onesie, and then I'm assuming that's a god right there in that floating spaceship thing. And then you see the dogs and the cheetah down there. I think that's a dog. I'm not wearing my glasses. A camel. I think that's a camel and a lion and whatnot, and you see all the trees and that. Yeah, you can see how he looks like a piss baby. He's blaming the woman. He's look at Eve just sitting there like a pretty girl, just sitting there, and then Adam's just pointing at her and saying, look, it was her, it wasn't me. He literally says that in the Bible. He was like, it was her though, like she made me do it. And God was like, aren't you a man? Like, stand up. I didn't ask her, I asked you. I told you not to eat from the tree. Why did you do it? And he's like, oh, because she made me do it. What does that sound like to you? She made me do it. It sounds like when women are like, this man assaulted me, and then these men are like, well, she made me do it. It sounds a lot like when women confront men about objectifying them and harassing them and whatnot, or making things worse for people, or destroying something, and men are like, oh, they made me do it, I just couldn't help myself. You could help yourself. If you can hear music in the background, my mom is having like a rave with my godmother. Like they're on the phone to each other, literally having like a rave. So yeah, if you hear Nigerian music in the background, that's what's going on. I remember distinctly in church being told that women were at fault for a lot of things, but they would say it in like a blasé way, that like, you know, all these men like David and Solomon and their man that were doing all sorts of things while being like the biggest sluts on the planet while doing it, and yet they could put aside the fact that they were sexually immoral, that they killed people and they did all sorts of things to other people and people in their family and innocents. They could put that aside and be like, oh, this man was a man of God though. This man God loved. And it's just like, I don't really want to subscribe to a religion, an organized religion where that is true. Meanwhile, women who blink wrong are ostracized from the church. I really don't subscribe to that, and I will not feel bad for that. I've never felt bad for it. I've mentioned it before in other comment sections on my page. I was one of those kids in church where I was just like, you cannot fool me. You can't pull the wool over my eyes. It didn't make it any better that a lot of people were actually mean to me in church. But even so, you can only for so long tell groups of women and girls that they are not worthy, that they're not human beings, before they start to realize that, hey, look, I don't want to hear this anymore. Whether or not they internalize it, no human being wants to be told that they are inherently worthless, like they're inherently made to serve somebody else, that you are useless and worthless. Meanwhile, your labor is something that's priceless. And that's what's happened to women. The difference between the way women and men have been treated is that women haven't actually done anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong to begin with, and we have always fulfilled our roles that we've been forced into, and we still do it. Even though there's a lot more freedom for quite a few women, they still choose their own oppression. And that's why I don't get when people are talking about the 4B. Nobody's pushing you to join it, so like, we can all shut up about that. It literally wasn't created for you. You didn't have to do anything. Nobody said that, or I'm forcing you to join it. Literally let people do what they want. Let women, for once, actually just choose something that is actually going to make their lives better. For years and years, centuries, millennia, we have been told that we are suffering for the sins of Eve, and the only sin she committed was not taking the fall, taking the blame for a man. Instead of Adam to be like, don't eat from that tree, right? Because God said it was bad, and it's my responsibility to ensure that you don't eat it, because I don't want anything bad to happen to you. But he saw her eat it. He was like, yeah, okay, eat it. And then she was like, why don't you eat it too? And he was like, okay, all right. It didn't take that much convincing for him to eat the apple. Adam came across as very passive in the story, and that's how we like to portray men in real life. We like to say men are slaves to their emotions, to their feelings, to their, their sex. They're slaves to their genitals. But when we cite that as the reasons why they commit things, like they choose to be that way, men will be like, that doesn't make any sense, you're making it up. But then men will turn around and say women are slaves to our genitals. And that's why they always say that we're receptive, especially during sex. That's why they force themselves on women and say that, oh, well, women always want it anyway, they just don't know it. And like I said, that's the reason why God created Eve for Adam in that story anyway. I don't believe in a God that would do something like that. I don't believe in a God that created women and would say, oh, women are meant to serve men and they're below men and they mean nothing. I sincerely doubt that. Execute me if you want to. You can see all the camels and the dogs and the lions and whatnot. And that still wasn't good enough for Adam. That's how men are. They'll have a good thing going on and they'll ruin it, and then they'll turn around and blame a woman for not letting them ruin it for them too. And then when women want to go around creating their own garden of Eden, you see men coming to stomp on the flowers. You're not doing this with me and for me and by me. I'm going to ruin it for you. Men will say that, oh, if she can't do this with me, she's not going to do it at all. If I can't have her, no one else can have her. And that's how you get family annihilators. Eve stayed with this guy and they had like three kids with each other. Cain, Abel and Seth. Eve was sadly a boy mum. Not once did she blame him. Not once was she offended that he blamed her. She still stayed with him, and that's accurate for the women of society. At what point do we stand there and we start to change the way history is talked about? Men also deserve the good edit. It's about time we're given kindness in religion. I saw a post this morning of King Von's baby mother talking about pulling their son out of football, like American football, because the coach did something to him. The coach squirted water in the boy's eye. Keep in mind, the boy is 5 years old and the boy is crying, and the coach said to the boy who's 5, he says something along the lines of, stop crying, otherwise I'll put you with the cheerleaders. Now, you can put 5 and 5 together while I put 2 and 2 together. Cheerleaders, on average, especially when we're talking about American football, no matter what the age, are, let's say, 99.999% women and girls. So not only is this man saying crying is a woman and girl thing, being delegated to where women and girls dominate is not only a punishment, it's something to be ashamed of. We can talk about it, we can have this discussion right now about what happens when you raise boys into the men we are seeing right now. It starts here at being maybe infancy, actually. It starts at infancy. But we can start from 5 years old, and it ends with them of growing into men who vote against the interests of the people who are supposed to save them, who are supposed to cook and clean for them and to give them kids, who they expect the world from, but don't even want to give a smidge of respect to. This is how it starts, because I remember a tweet thread where a woman said, baby boys are like the sweetest things ever, and then they just grow up and learn misogyny. When you have the idea that boys are cuter than girls, they're sweeter than girls, and you prefer having a son over a daughter, or you want a son, you can see yourself having a son and not a daughter at all, it's internalized misogyny, and it's misogyny, full stop, because there's no biological reason or inherent reason why you prefer to have one gender over the other, especially when there's no reason to. I understand why women want girls more than they want boys, because we get to feel that way. At least when women raise girls, we're not going to be blamed into making them sissies. Sissies being a derogatory term. The worst thing a boy can be, or the worst thing a man can be, is compared to a woman or a girl. I didn't really want to make a video about, oh, boys can't cry, men can't cry, so I'm not going to make that video. But you can see families like this, they'll have a daughter, or they'll have multiple daughters and multiple sons, and we all have different experiences, but on average you're going to hear the same kind of experience. Boys like this idea that girls are favoured by the fathers and mothers, when 9 out of 10 times it's not the truth. That's not what happens. If you ask your sisters what happened to them growing up, you will be surprised, because you never listened to them in the first place. Fathers are like their daughters until the daughters go through puberty, not because the daughters have an attitude. You get to have an attitude, periods aren't fun, but it's because now she is going to turn into one of these people that you haven't respected your entire life, including the woman you created the daughter with. So let's start in infancy. When boys are born, there's a celebration, especially if you come from cultures like mine. When the daughters are born, it's like, okay, you get 3 maids in it, and they're not happy about it. Not too many generations ago, they would drown infant females. They would, find different ways to take them off the planet, essentially, or leave them for dead. They still do that in countries today. You can't specify, because it happens everywhere. Meanwhile, when boys are born, it's a celebration of finally the woman has, gifted her part to the patriarchy. Finally, she's a real woman. Finally, this is a good woman. She gives birth to boys. Like in my church and other churches, my old church, when a woman had multiple boys, especially if she had only boys, she was lauded as this very good woman, as this brilliant woman who God has blessed. And I remember distinctly it being a problem when it was only me and my sister in existence before my brother was born. Multiple women have that experience. You're like the practice child, you're like the maid/child that will one day give your all to the family, but you'll become apart from someone else's family. You don't even get to keep the name, so that's why we don't see you as one of our children. In infancy, this is what happens to boys. They are praised, they are lauded, they are just coddled from infancy. Everyone loves them. Oh my God, this prince has been born. One thing we have to remember when talking about the socializations and the raising of boys is the constant. And the constant is lack of punishment. How many times have you been punished for something somebody's been praised for or excused for doing? How many times have you been told, oh, you can't do that because you're a girl? Girls and boys are different. Men and boys are different. Boys will be boys. Men will be men. this things, this is what boys do, this is what men do, this is what women do, this is what girls do, this isn't for you, this is for them. How many times have you been told something like that? We've all been told something like that. This is when we're starting to move past infancy into, toddlerhood. What do you call it? Being a toddler. And then they start going to like nursery and playgroup, and then preparing them to go into like kindergarten and reception. So this is like ages from like maybe two to like 5, and then 5 to like 10. The lack of punishment is strong, and it remains that way their entire lives. That's why you're wondering why they grow into men who don't not only take accountability, but they honestly expect to act a certain way and not get in trouble for it, even though they've hurt somebody. The reason why they operate this way is because they've been allowed to operate this way their entire life. We've just seen a story out of America where I think they were 10th grade, I'm not sure, fourth grade boys like hung a second grader or fourth grade, I can't remember, but it was either 10th grade hung a fourth grader or fourth grader hung a second grader. I don't know where from, but they hung them. The boy is alive as far as we know. But this is what we're talking about. These are the pastimes your sons are taking part in, and we're not allowed to talk about it because it makes boys look bad. This is where it ends up. So if I'm remembering correctly, these boys won't be older than, let's say they're 14 and below, something like that. I'm pretty sure they're quite young. So let's say they're between the ages of 5 and 14, all the boys involved. So it was multiple boys, but they're coming for one boy especially. But obviously a boy like that cannot just do it on his own. That is a group activity. That is a group crime, and they should be tried. Not only sent to juvenile hall, but they should be tried as adults, because that is a very calculated thing to do, and there's no way they would have been able to carry that out if they did not learn it from somewhere, if they were not allowed to get away with micro behavior before that. These are the things that they're allowed to participate in. You see these boys, they'll be killing little animals and little insects, and like for fun, and then you'll be wondering, oh, I hope this doesn't come back to bite me in the ass when he gets older, and it literally comes back to bite you in the ass. We hear of sons murdering their own mothers, and then you're telling me that your daughter is the worst thing that ever happened to you, not only because she got her period, but because your boyfriend is preying on her and you don't want to get rid of your boyfriend. You're telling me girls are harder to raise because they have emotions and they don't kill people because of these emotions. You seem to know what to do when boys murder people over their emotions. You seem to know what to do and where to go and how to fix things when men do these things. But when it's girls literally expressing themselves by talking, everyone's like, women are just confusing. I just can't. Boy, please. Girl, please. Just say you hate women and girls. Just say it. It's not that we'll respect you more, but we just want our suspicions confirmed. At this point, they're not even suspicions. It's just general knowledge, and we've accepted that. You can't alienate and ostracize women and girls and then expect us to not only realize that, but not do anything in return. Sadly, women and girls will do things in return. Not only will we be defending ourselves, no matter what it takes, we will be talking about it, and we will be talking about it forever. If my last breath has to be spent talking about these things, I will do it. These boys grow into men, young men who go on to be like Brock Turner. And then these Brock Turners, they grow up to be like the police officer who murdered Sarah Everard. If they don't grow to be serial killers, they go into law enforcement, they go into service where they can have unlimited access to patients, especially women and girls, that they can be brutalizing and victimizing. And they will always have a mother and father in their corner being like, that my boy wouldn't do that. They'll have a wife who'll be like, my husband, you don't know him. You don't know him like I do. He's a father. They'll always have people in their corner saying that they didn't know this guy could be capable of doing these things. But along his life, people have been telling you, this is the things that he does. These are the things he says. This is the way he thinks. This is the way he operates. And you've been telling us that we're not only hyperbolic, they're being hysterical. We're just telling lies on your boy. Do you know the reason why men tell us when we express these things that men and boys do? Do you know why they tell us, or they ask us, oh, you want to put men in prison? Does that include your father and your brother? Why are you saying it's all men? Does that include your father or your brother or your uncle or your grandfather? What if it was your father that was accused, your brother? Do you know why they say that? It's because they know people. And if they're not that person themselves, they know people, they know men in their lives, including their friends and their family members who have done these things and plan on doing these things. And it all started from praising these boys as infants and lifting them up to the sky like Simba and saying they were God's gift to the earth when they are the scourge of the planet. They'll turn around and tell us that nobody allows them to cry. They'll cry. They'll weaponize those tears right in front of your face to get you to do what they want. Oh, no woman loves me, and then while you guys are having sex, he's thinking I'm gonna ghost this girl right afterward. It starts here, telling them that their tears are only appropriate when it's time to hurt women. Men are the one harming these boys, not allowing them to feel.